And this is next video. Cougarific, thanks for the post. Indeed, what happened aboard the Vesper, we'll never know. Volcano Sheep. As far as I can tell, there are two separate stories going on in Below Zero with very little to nothing that connects them together. The search for what happened to Sam and Alan stuff. Then there's Margaret, who appears randomly and threatens you. Then the game uses a marker to try and force you to follow her. But story-wise, there's no logical reason why you would do that. Nothing to compel you down there other than the game trying to force you to follow that path. And also, there's a gameplay reason to do that. Oh, wow, I might get more upgrades. The game gave me a signal to go somewhere. A gamer understands to do that. But from a story point perspective, when you're telling a story, which is, oh, Below Zero is it's a real game. It's got an organic story with living, changing, breathing, evolving characters. It's got none of those. So, I agree. Narratively speaking, there's no reason for Sam to follow after Maida and invade her base after Maida's like, I thought I told you to leave me alone. Hey, that's what the writer said, right? It's in the script. Following the Sam path and all the clues, you never have to dive beyond 100 meters. And by the end of it, I'm left with the feeling that Sam was an idiot. I agree. Then there are the plot holes. Why does Sam hate that Alterra is doing experiments on Corral? How does a robotics engineer figure out how to perform molecular biology and genetically change a bacteria? I truly believe the story is badly written, but why that is, I couldn't say. Perhaps the writers weren't given enough time or direction. In answer to your question, I'd rather the original story had been refined and built upon rather than shit all over. Cougarific. Jill was given a truly Herculean task. Take a half-finished game and write a story around it using the existing assets. What a nightmare. That said, taking everything into account, including the pandemic, which was hitting right as Jill took over from Tom, I can't say I'm particularly impressed with the results. Way too much telling, not enough showing. We learn almost everything we know about the lead characters through exposition. Sam was always the one with a plan. She wouldn't enter a bake sale without a plan. The only showing we get are a dozen audio logs, which not every player will even bother listening to. These do a good job fleshing out relationships, but the way they're presented, stop what you're doing, open your PDA, find a log, click play, is so unimmersive, I predict hardly any players will even bother. You know, certain games handle this better. You would find a disc or a VHS tape, and you couldn't watch it in your inventory. You had to go find a VCR, or you had to find a computer to put the CD in, and you would unlock the cut. What's on this tape? What's on the CD? It's a cutscene. Well, let me go view it. That brings immersion into it. It's not the player stopping what they're doing, going into a menu to view something. It's the player navigating their character in the game world to do something that would make sense in the game world. Hey, I find an old VHS tape on the ground. I'm like, what's on the tape? I'm going to go and find somewhere to play that tape, right? Could have went that route, but they didn't. Oh boy. The only showing we get are a dozen audio logs. Not even bother listening to. Yep. Most players won't even bother. Andreas is at the bottom, and Margaret is a criminal. I'm going to do a refresh, and that's it for that one. We're going into another thread by Wonderful Waffles. I touched upon this several days ago. Well, a couple days ago. Now, this is bait. I think he's trolling. This is the title. When you're on the front page, when you're in general discussions, story complaints, spoilers, right? He's got complaints about the story. But when you get down to his closing remark, by now I'm just talking too much, but I feel that the story makes sense perfectly and is awesome. So, in between story complaints and this last remark, everything in between, This guy's just bullshitting. He's tugging your dick. And he's tugging on your tits. But there's been a lot of, there's been 15 replies. Let's cover that. And me and the big Brzezinski, we've spoken about this in private. Why doesn't Robin like Alterra? Oh, that's good coffee. Why doesn't Robin like Alterra? And what we're going to see, what we're going to read and cover in the comments, this is everyone's attempt to offer up an explanation. But no one can actually point to anything in the game as a direct answer. Because you can play this game 100%, you could debug the game. You could find every line of code. You could read every text, every line of text available to a player. You could unlock any locked or hidden PDA files. You could go all through the console commands. You're not going to find an answer because those answers weren't put into the game. So let's try and watch defenders of the game try to explain why Robin doesn't like Alterra. Wonderful Waffles is the first to step up. Alterra is kind of in a shifty corporation, TransGov. They're kind of a, okay. They're very greedy and not the nicest of TransGovs. Well, what would be a nice TransGov you could compare to, right? I don't know. But they are the most powerful, therefore Sam tried to make it better on the inside. Again, they're the most powerful, they're greedy, so Sam tried to change it from the inside. That's why she joined. But Alterra were being idiots again and making a bacteria that wiped out an entire highly advanced alien civilization even stronger. What do you mean, making it stronger? How do you know that? What PDA said that? Because when you're mutating a virus or a bacteria, you can be doing that from very, very, very many, various different reasons. I imagine the first thing I'd want to do, mutating a dangerous bacterial agent, is to remove or to mutate it in such a way to where it's not as contagious, to where it's easier to contain, easier to study, easier to manipulate, easier to mutate, easier to manage, easier to research. Thank goodness we have penicillin and other modern medical antibiotic miracles that, we found out, through medical testing. But, hey, that's what Alterra wants to do. We want to do biomedical research on this corral, and we're doing it under safe and secure scenarios. But basically, Wonderful Waffles is saying Alterra is bad because eco-terrorism. This then indefinitely led to her demise. Oh, wait. But Alterra was being an idiot. Yeah, okay, so Alterra was researching with dangerous bacteria, and this led to Sam's demise. No, Sam led to Sam's demise. Notice his answer doesn't actually answer the question. Or so, not directly. Because he's still not answering. He's talking about why Sam. What was Sam's problem, right? Because he said this led to her demise. Sam's the one that died, not Robin. The Brzezinski is asking, why doesn't Robin like Alterra, the main character, the living sister? And the response that he gave is from the dead sister's perspective. He didn't even answer. Non sequitur. Your answer does not address the question. But Old Wolf steps up afterwards and he's like, I got something to say. And I got something to say about what he's got to say. This is going to eat into my next video. I was going to respond to why Robin dislikes Alterra, but Waffles beat me to it and did a great job of explaining it. He did a poor job explaining it. It has a lot to do with mutualism versus parasitism, basically. Oh boy.